Greetings and welcome. Now it's a little bit of a different video today. This is actually pre-recorded. I'm currently in the Philippines. I'm not dealing with this shit, wet, horrible British weather. I'm dealing with some nice weather in the Philippines with my wife. Yes, I'm there for a month. So if I'm not commenting or replying to your comments down below, that's why. I'm currently in the Philippines. Right now, I'm probably enjoying a nice local San Miguel beer, probably doing some karaoke with some friendly Filipino locals. If you get the chance to go to the Philippines, folks, please go to the Philippines. It's an incredible country. Everyone, when they travel to Southeast Asia, they go to Thailand or they go to Vietnam. Don't go to the Philippines. Philippines is a beautiful country, and the people there are the most friendliest in the world. You will have the most fun, and go. So yeah, I'm pre-recording this video, so I thought I'd do a topic that's a bit universal, because who knows what's going on in politics right now. Jesus Christ, I mean, Penny Mordaunt could be Prime Minister for all I know. That's another thing. While I'm spending a month in the Philippines, I will be having a complete political blackout. I do this once a year. I enjoy doing it once a year. If you're into politics, if you follow politics quite closely, and world events and news and war and famine and everything, it can get a bit too much. You know, I think it's really good to just have a reset every year, a substantial amount of time. I find 3 to 4 weeks is a good time for me just to reset and just forget about politics, just forget about everything for a month and just reset my brain a little bit. I highly recommend it. So that's what I'm doing in the Philippines right now. So who knows what's going on? Like I say, Penny Mordaunt, Suella Braverman could be Prime Minister. Who knows? We could call an election. I could miss out. What about that? If I'm away for a month, how long is it before calling an election and the actual election? It is that kind of time period, right? They could have called an election. I might not vote. How tragic would that be? My one single vote. Like it matters. That's the thing though. Everyone gets obsessed, don't they, about who I'm going to vote for. What might... First past the post, people. My vote. If I don't turn up to vote, what will happen? How many constituencies are decided on one vote? Not many, but anyway, I'm blathering. So yeah, to the topic of today's video, what I want to talk about, what do I think are the most three pressing matters that need to get sorted out in this country? Basically, if I was Prime Minister, what 3 things, if I could only change 3 things, what would I change about this country? Now, I'm working on the basis that if I'm Prime Minister, there's no way that we still have first past the post. I wouldn't get elected on the first past the post. Maybe a PR voting system. So that's already been changed. We'll take that as a granted, because that is number 1. That needs to change. So we'll take that as granted that that's already changed. But what 3 things do I think are the most important issues in this country to change? Now, I'm going to list the 3 things that I think, and then I'm going to go into a bit more detail about them. So I think it's housing, education, and state ownership. I think would be the 3 things. If I could only choose 3 things to change about this country, they're the 3 things that I changed. So let's get into housing first, and straight away, council housing. We need other options for families, British families, other than pay a greedy landlord about between 50 and 75% of your own earnings each month, or desperately save, cut to the bare bone and save for years and years and years and years and try and buy a house. There needs to be another option for British families. There needs to be affordable housing for British families. And I don't just mean building. Everyone talks about, you know, we've got to build houses, we've got to build and build, but I never hear anyone talking about like the thousands of derelict housing that we have in this country, or even, you know, high streets and shops that are derelict. You know, we need to be looking at fixing up these derelict housing, and not just, you know, like decent, clean, solar panelled, heat pumped, modern housing. Fix them up. And there needs to be other options for families. There really do. And, you know, we used to have this. My grandparents, they lived in a council house all their life. From when they got married, moved in together, until they died, they lived in a council house. And they were happy with that. They were happy. It was low. It was affordable housing. You know, things got fixed. If things went wrong with the house, they were fine. Okay, yeah, they didn't have this massive, huge amount of value to leave to their children when they passed away. But this is the problem. We seem to be obsessed in this country of home ownership. I had it drummed into me when I was a kid. Like, I was a kid in the 90s, right? So I had, influencers and parents and elder folks that were around in the 80s that got this obsession from Thatcher when she sold all the council housing to folks to buy their own council house. This obsession. You have to own your own home. You have to own your own home. Why? People were happy in council housing. This obsession with owning your own home is ridiculous. And I got it drummed into me when I was a kid. Bricks and mortar. You can't go wrong with bricks and mortar. The value will always go up. It's an investment. It's stupid. And this is the thing. Most investors and financial advisors nowadays will actually tell you that owning your own home is not really a great investment. If you want to leave a lump sum to your children when you pass away, you're far better just investing into a stocks and shares ISA or something like that instead of a home. And, it's such a massive chunk of money that you invest in a home. And over the course of your life, like I said, you're always dealing with repairs when you're owning your own home. If you're moving a lot, if you're staying in one location for a long period of time, then maybe. But if you're moving and different financial advisors and mortgage advisors' fees and solicitors' fees and stuff like this, it's not really that much of a great investment. And like I said, we just need a country where we've got proper, affordable housing for families and not just have this goddamn awful option of just paying into private landlords 50 to 75% of your wages each month. It's just wrong. It's wrong, and it needs to change, and everyone knows it needs to change. But this way, with more council housing, those people that are worried about their house prices going down or something, and I'm a homeowner, people have often said to me, you're not concerned about house prices going down and stuff, but I'm always like, I've got a house, Okay, if the price goes down, and even if it goes down less than what I paid for it, nothing's really changed. It's just a figure that's floating in the air. When I eventually pay it off, when I sell it, if it's less than what I put in, it's still better than paying to a private landlord, isn't it? At least something's coming out of it. But anyway, in this case, with more affordable social housing, I don't think it would really affect the house prices that much anyway, because it's more like a luxury to own a house then, so it will be luxury prices. Anyway, I'm kind of babbling a little bit, but going back to the housing conversation, the housing conversation includes homelessness as well. Now, I think that you'd obviously help that if you had much more affordable housing available anyway, but I don't think you'd eradicate homelessness altogether. But it would be much less. If there's affordable housing, less people will fall out of the safety net and end up on the streets. But those that are still homeless, I think every citizen should have the right to somewhere to sleep at night. We know our towns and cities are derelict. We've got boarded up housing. There should be no reason why we can not build in those places, those shop windows that are doing nothing. We can build decent, clean, safe, and the key thing being safe, accommodation for homeless people. Every night you should be able to have a roof over your head. It wouldn't be that expensive to run, especially if the homeless population has dropped radically, if you've got more affordable housing anyway. But I think it should be a right that every citizen should be able to have a roof over their head. And you can do that with these boarded up shops, these boarded up towns and cities, good, clean, safe, individual dwellings, so you're not mixing, because, there's a lot of volatile people out on the streets and a lot of mental illness, that's why a lot of people end up sleeping on the streets, because they don't even feel safe in a lot of homeless shelters that are available to them. Good, clean, individual blocks of sleeping accommodation for homeless. What do you think? That's housing wrapped up. So next I want to talk about education. Now, education is something that has been pretty dire in this country for years. Even go back before the Tory government. I supposedly, with stats, education was supposed to be great under Tony Blair's Labour government, and I guess if you were academic and you could go to university and things like that, it was, because there was a free education, university education. But I just think the whole education system in this country needs flipping upside down. I went to school in the 90s, and when you think, like, when I think back to what I learned from school, I think the majority of what people still take with them from what they learned from school is the basics. Is your adding, subtracting, learning to read and write, all those things that you learn in sort of, primary school and middle school. Those are the things, really. And then when you get into high school, like, who remembers everything that they learned in geography and history and even maths? When you get into that, when you get into the algebra side of maths and English, when we just go over and over again on Shakespeare and analyse, it's just, I don't understand that when you get to the sort of high school level, why you have to learn all those different subjects. I think we need an education system where you find out what each pupil is good at that age. When you're talking like 12, 13, find out what each individual pupil is good at and focus on that. If you're great at sport, focus on sport. If you're I just think we ignore the people that are more creative, and we just focus solely on exams, on English and maths and history and revision, and the more creative kids just get left behind. I think we should just find out what kids are good at 12, 13 years old. If you, like I say, if you're good at sport, focus on sport. If you're good at drama, music, focus on music. And there are kids there that are going to be great at maths, so they can go on to do algebra and the more complicated side of maths, and English and languages and history and geography and all these things. If you're good at a certain subject, you should just focus on that. I don't see the point of this broad spectrum, because you never really learn anything. I mean, language is such a perfect example of the failings of education in this country. I learnt language for 4 years in high school and then 2 years at a GCSE level. I did not learn a single thing. I took German at the end. I did not, for 2 years and 4 years overall, 4 years education of learning German, and I can't remember a single thing. And I didn't at the time. I did not know anything. I didn't learn anything. How is this working? It's not working, is it? It's really not working. And the same with my son that's just gone through education in the late 2000s and 2010s. He done language. Does he know any Spanish or German? A couple of words. For 4 years education. How is that working? It doesn't work. And the same with geography and all these things. We don't seem to actually retain any decent information from these things. So they just seem pointless. And I just think that we should establish early what kids are good at, what areas they're good at, and just teach that. You need to learn the basics of maths and English, but you learn them at an early age. And anyone that's struggling with them, of course, if you're still struggling with reading and writing, you need to do more of that. But just focus on what the kids are good at. And then when they come to school leaving age, when you get to 16 and you come to the end of your school career, I've said this in a previous video, I think we need to have basically, when you finish school, a list of jobs that we need in the country. It's like when you go to emigrate to Australia, they give out a list of trades that they need, and if you have that trade and that education and that skill, you can come into the country. And I think it should be the same when you leave school. You should have a list of jobs saying, right, we need plumbers, carpenters, lawyers, doctors, nurses, everything that we need in this country. And when you finish school, basing on what you feel you're good at and what you would enjoy to do, you pick one of those and then you train. You go on to college and you train specifically in that area. At the moment, it's just the prospects for it's like housing that I was just talking about. You kind of get like two options when you leave school. You either go into insane amounts of debt and try and study at university for whatever. You still probably don't really know exactly what you want to do in life, or you go to college. If you haven't got the exam results to do A levels, which I found out with my son personally, you get shoved some sort of NVQ business studies thing, just to doss around for a year. What's he learned? You know, what's he learning? He's not learning anything from this. There's no options. And if you want to do an apprenticeship, we looked at, he was quite interested in car bodywork and stuff like that. Two available apprenticeships in the whole of Sussex. There's no options for kids. If you are academic, then you have to put yourself in tons of debt. If you're not academic, fucking ambulance. If you're not academic, your options are pitiful in this country. They really are. But then we need tradespeople, and yet we're bringing in hundreds of thousands of immigrants to do these jobs, and we're not training up our own British citizens to do it. And this is another one of those ridiculous arguments that we get. You know, back with Brexit, best example, after Brexit, we no longer had people to pick our fruit and veg, right? We had a massive labour shortage of fruit and veg pickers, so our farmers were suffering. And loads of people going, oh, why can't British people do it? They're lazy. British people should be doing it. And I don't understand why we're dropping the standards for our British citizens, for our British kids. Why are we not training British citizens to do the the important jobs, the well-paid jobs, but we want them picking fruit? Never understood this argument. The argument should be, why are we not training our British citizens to do the important, well-paid, good jobs, but people crying out for them to go in the fields and pick fruit? It's balmy. And this is a world that we live in right now, where we don't train our British citizens to do the jobs that we need to do. Nurses, doctors, we don't pay them what they deserve, so we just constant import of people to do those jobs. Stupid. Finally, right, is that camera wonky the whole time? I'm gonna move that a little bit. It's probably throwing you off a bit now, isn't it? Finally, state ownership. Now, I'm gonna be short and sweet with this, because I've kind of covered it really in housing and education, but I just think the basics should be run by the state. I think the countries that are the most happiest, run the best, Scandinavian countries are great examples, have the best mixture of free market capitalism and socialist policies. And I just think the basics need to be state-owned. Housing, not all, of course, you can still buy a house if you want to, but but available for every citizen if they want cheap, affordable housing. Education, prisons, and another one that's going private ever more, like America. Utilities, and when I talk about utilities, I don't just mean water, gas, I mean broadband as well. That is just as important now. You have to function with Wi-Fi. You can't bloody pay a bill online without Wi-Fi. You need it. It's an essential now. Wi-Fi is now an essential. Transport and healthcare, all those things need to be owned and run by the state and not for profit. You know, free market capitalism, the rest, you know, go crazy. If you want a new iPhone or you want a new car, free market capitalism is the way to get it. But those basics have to be run by the state. Healthcare, transport, housing, education, prisons and utilities. And I don't care how much it costs, we need to get it back, because a happy functioning society needs those basics available for them. And that's where I end the video, I guess. So what are your thoughts, guys? Please comment down below. Like I said, I can't reply because I'm enjoying myself in the Philippines at the moment, but I will take a look when I get back. And yeah, what would your 3 main key things that you'd want to change about this country? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, click a like. If you haven't subscribed, you can subscribe up top. Till next time, take care.